Good afternoon to you, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with a Hurricane Outlook and Discussion special for Hurricane Joaquin. Kind of bad news here. It's sitting over the Bahamas, the central Bahamas. Just devastating flooding, unbelievable relentless wind with the slow movement of this system. A fairly well-developed eye sitting in this area. Not as clear as you'd expect to see in a Category 4. But the central dense overcast with this, the solid area of deep thunderstorms surrounding that relatively calm center, the eye. Unfortunately, it's very impressive from a meteorological perspective. And these islands down here fairly flat, very flat, offering little resistance to the hurricane. You can even see here some overshooting tops in some of these bands coming around the southern side. Just a very ugly situation. To give you bearing on what's what in this region, right now the center of Joaquin, located right in here roughly, fairly close to Long Island, just to the south of Rum Cay. It does look like if we zoom in on this, you can see there's Rum Cay, Clarence Town down here, Long Island, the Bahamas version of Long Island, that's what it's called. And then right here, this particular island is Crooked Island, and for good reason. It looks kind of crooked there. Sadly, I tell you what, that has got to be one heck of a wind situation and surge there. On the northwest side of Crooked Island is that eye wall, very close to that region. And this just has to get out of here. It's got to stop this slow motion, and if it's going to turn and go on out to sea, let's get it on and over with for these folks down there. This is just an awful situation. Now, interestingly enough, the 12Z GFS, you've probably seen all this already on social media, but I'll show you real quick. This is the 500 millibar pattern. There's Joaquin down there in the Bahamas. This is valid tomorrow morning, so this is Friday morning, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, Monday morning. And you can see for the most part, it follows the Euro's idea of moving away from the United States as opposed to up into the mid-Atlantic or the Northeast. However, just as a, it's not over till it's over kind of thought here, this is the afternoon simple numeric model guidance. The H-Wharf, which had been all into the Carolinas, out to sea, the GFS out to sea, the GFS ensemble mean, the consensus. I mean, all of these are certainly pointing in the direction of an out-to-sea track, but you still have a few stragglers here that have yet to get the memo, I guess, trying to bring it into the Carolinas. Probably not going to happen, but until you see all of the guidance shifting offshore, you certainly have to pay attention to this. I want to go back here and show you the GFS ensembles. Speaking of all of the guidance, with the exception of just a couple of the ensemble members here, member number 7 and member number 8, it looks like, maybe 13. The other 17 ensemble members of the GFS are well out to sea. So that brings up the question of, well, what else is out here? Bermuda is in there somewhere. And so if I'm on Bermuda, I'm going to be watching this very closely over the next few days for sure. And I'll talk more about that if in fact this looks like it poses a direct threat to Bermuda in the coming couple of days, and that threat may increase. In the meantime, along the eastern part of the country where Joaquin was forecast to come inland just recently by many of the models, is under a big flood risk that has absolutely nothing to do with the hurricane whatsoever. Instead, you have this stalled out front, ample moisture coming up out of the tropics. I guess you could say that's a very loosely indirect connection to the hurricane, but mostly all this warm water and energy sitting down here. And then you have this upper level feature that's going to drop in, cut off over the southeast, very deep, and rotate itself out over the Atlantic and squeeze out tremendous amounts of rainfall. This is a bad event in and of itself for you folks up here in New Jersey. Very strong onshore flow coming from the pressure gradient of high pressure sitting up over here, and the combination of the stalled front, which is low pressure in and of itself, and then the pressure gradient even more so because of Joaquin. Onshore flow all across this region going to add to the beach erosion problems and coastal flooding issues, especially in New Jersey. This is the weather.gov site that I talk about a lot. And you can go in, weather.gov, put in your zip code, mine's 28405, and you get a wonderful menu of information that's relative to your area. And this is the latest. Now, some of this is generated from the GFS or other modeling and not necessarily human input. I doubt we're going to have tropical storm conditions over the weekend, but you get to see the forecast, and that's great. But more importantly, in my humble opinion, is this right here under the additional forecast and information. You want to know what's going on in your neck of the woods? That's it right there, the forecast discussion. Click on it, read it. Some of it you'll understand, some of it you won't. It's got a nice synopsis in here that tells you, like the synopsis of a movie or a book. No need to explain that. Short term, and then you have long term forecast information, and aviation weather, the marine conditions for boating interests, and then very important, the tide information. And in areas such as the Northeast, I'm going to go back out to the main Weather Service homepage and I'll show you that. So like if you were to click on Belmar, New Jersey as an example here, first of all, you see all the different watch and warning patchwork going on up there. Just incredible. Without the hurricane influence at all, this is what's going on. So, here it is up here coming out of the Philadelphia Weather Service office. All these little bits and pieces of information under hazardous weather conditions. But you scroll down again, no matter where you are, you get all this information across the top, your point and click weather, so to speak, but then the forecast discussion. Very important, again, synopsis, near term, aviation, etc. But in this area, you do have, for example, a hydrology section that talks about the rainfall. Very, very important information in here that you can read and hopefully make sense of. And then here, for coastal areas, tides and coastal flooding. And it's all highlighted right here. You pay for it with your tax dollars, and so you might as well use it. The National Weather Service, a great resource for what's happening. And remember, the men and women that work at the local, what we call WFO, Weather Service Forecast Office, live in your community. So, they have a vested interest in getting it right as well and putting out pertinent information. All right, well, that's all I know for now. Again, looks like Joaquin going to miss the United States. Devastating in the Bahamas. Want to watch it closely in Bermuda. Not over till it's over, but probably 90% there in my opinion. And then the flood threat and the other events going on along the East Coast will be plenty to keep us busy over the next several days. I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. Thanks as always for tuning in. And I'll have another video blog for you tomorrow morning.